Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Festival of the Unexplained. This weekend has been a little bit of a labour of love for all of us, and at some point in our times, we have all suffered with depression and anxiety, and myself included in that as well. But unfortunately, sometimes things take a turn for the worst, and we have a number of true life personal stories. And I'd like to welcome Kelly Kennedy, who has kindly agreed to share her story with us. And I just want to say thank you so much, Kelly, for coming on and, sharing these stories, because they are quite personal, aren't they?
Yes, they are very personal. Quite a difficult subject to talk about.
It is. And I think, it's brave to be able to talk about things like, suicide and about the catalysts and things like that. Now, obviously, we know each other anyway, but obviously parts of people's lives we don't know. And this for me was quite an eye-opener, because you're a holistic therapist. You've come such a long way, and, having a look at people's Facebook profiles, you automatically think that everybody's had a great life and everybody's happy. And, now I know you. It's kind of like, now I know that you're in that place now. But it wasn't always the case, was it?
No. I struggled from the age of 15, really, with social anxiety, which led to depression. I had sort of body image issues and self-confidence issues. I struggled really from teenage years, and then different things happened within my life, different traumas, parents splitting up, all those kind of things that we all go through. But that was a real catalyst to my depression, really, back then.
So obviously with these catalysts, these personal life traumas, these are what shape us, aren't they, for the years to come, these traumas. And I know that between the ages of 11 to 18, these are the times when children are at their most vulnerable, aren't they? And, looking back now, how did you notice these feelings kind of creeping in regarding your body image and, your self-esteem and your confidence?
I struggled going out. I started drinking a lot. I think that was a big sort of warning sign. I grew up in a pub as well, which didn't help. I started drinking from sort of the age of 14. And I could only really go out with friends and socialize if I was drunk, because that was obviously the only way I could do it. And then that obviously had a lot of detrimental effects to my mental health, because I was drinking too much. Unfortunately, then later on, it led down the road to taking recreational drugs in my sort of late teens. And it kind of snowballed really with my mental health. Although I was very, very good back then at acting like I was fine and putting on a big smile like we all do. But by the age of 21, I was in quite a bad way mentally with my depression. And that was obviously when I ended up taking an overdose at the age of 21, which it seems crazy now, but that's what happened.
So I know obviously you mentioned you took an overdose then, but what were the situation leading up to that and the thought process that went through your mind?
It was a combination of things, really. I think it was a huge build up from the traumas I'd experienced when I was younger, which I hadn't dealt with, obviously, because I was, just masking everything by drinking and taking drugs like you do. And I think the real catalyst for taking the overdose was being on my own one night. And I wasn't very good at being on my own. Mm-hmm. Even though I struggled with social situations, actually being on my own, and I was living on my own at the time, and I was only 21. I got very drunk on my own, and then that was that. And I just thought, I don't want to be around anymore. And that was when I took the overdose.
It's really sad to hear that, but
Yeah.
it's ever so common, isn't it, in this day and age with loneliness and, you know, the social media aspect as well about, you know, the body image and things like that, you know, and I'm ever so sorry that you feel like you had to go through that. But did you, when you wanted to take that overdose, did you think about your family? Did you think about your friends and the aftermath of what would have happened had you succeeded?
That's a really difficult question, because I think when you're in the depths of depression, and it's almost like that real despair that you feel all alone anyway. And even though, you know, my family were really upset when I did it, I felt very disconnected from everybody. And it wasn't as, you know, I think there's a lot of talk about selfish being a very selfish act, which I don't agree with, because, you know, when you're in that depths of despair, your brain's not working properly anyway. You can't think about the outside world, really. It's very difficult. So, you know, I just didn't want to be around anymore. Yeah, and I was just really lonely, and yeah, drinking too much, taking too many drugs. I mean, there were so many things that caused the overdose, really. There was a combination of things. But yeah, that is a difficult question, because I wasn't really thinking about the after effects for my family. No, I wasn't. And I think many people that have been in that situation will probably say the same.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I say, when you're really in that, you're down so far, it's very difficult to think about the outside world, I think.
Yeah, and I can totally relate to that as well.
Yeah.
It is difficult, and from people who I've spoken to just on this journey ourselves, they've all said the same. You know, it's something to do with the brain that they cannot fathom. You know, there's no rational thinking there, and there's no right and wrong, and it's to be honest with you, this has been quite an emotional roller coaster doing this festival, because you know, your story is personal to you, but obviously me being friends with you, it's even more personal, isn't it? And you know, I really applaud you for coming on and talking about this. But how has your life changed, you know, since all of that has happened?
I think after I took the overdose, after I woke up in hospital, it was a bit of a shock, actually. When I woke up in hospital, it was a bit of a, oh, okay, oh, I did it. Right, okay. It was like I wasn't really in my right frame of mind anyway. So I felt like it was a second chance in a way, and I don't know, I felt this inner strength that I hadn't felt before in hospital, although I was obviously very shaky and needed a lot of support and healing, basically. But I did find that inner strength, and I just decided that I was going to get myself well. And I sought out the right people. And I think it is very much about, it's different for everybody. Some people go to psychotherapists or counselors. Some people just talk to somebody who's already been through a similar situation, or suffered with depression or suicidal thoughts themselves. But for me, it was all about self-care, and I went down the holistic health route. I sought out Reiki and spiritual healing, but I also spoke to counsellors as well. So I kind of did pretty much everything I could really do to try and heal myself. But it was really, for me personally, it was Reiki and holistic therapies that really made me understand myself, why I did it, what I was really going through. And it got to the root cause of my depression. So for me, that was like mind blowing when I went. It was years and years of, you know, working myself out really, but you know, as it is. But yeah, for me, it was that really saved me, I suppose. Yeah.
And have you had any episodes recently, or, you know, obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic, and, you know, I know you've got a beautiful family, and, you know, some people are suffering with this mental illness, but like, I think, like you say, if you've already been in those depths of depression, you kind of, you know the trigger signs to get, you know, where you're heading back to, and you can kind of, I don't know if you're like me, but you see those trigger signs, and you can correctly pull yourself back out and say, no, I'm not going back to that place.
Yeah, I do notice the signs now. I do still get down, you know, like we all do. Get despondent sometimes. I get like, oh, you know, here we go again, especially with the next lockdown. It's like, really? But, you know, I do know how to manage that more now. But I think for me, what really helped me heal was being honest about how I was feeling, and being truthful. And I think that was where it really began, the healing really began, because once you could, you know, accept that you need help and that you're struggling with these feelings, when you can accept that and be honest with yourself, I think that's when you can really start opening up and talking about how you really feel. So for me, that was what helped me, by being honest with myself.
And would you look to the future and help other people who have been in this situation?
Yes, I do. It's interesting, isn't it, how the universe works? You know, obviously I'm a Reiki master myself now, and I trained sort of over 7 years doing all my Reiki training. I've been a holistic therapist for 16 years now, and I think with my knowledge of what I've learned through the years and what I've been through with depression and anxiety myself, I think you can help people. I mean, people do come to me who suffer with depression, who have been through trauma and grief, the same as myself, throughout the years. So, you know, I think when you're empathetic, and I am an empath as well, which is why I think I've also struggled through the years. I think being an empath is quite a difficult thing sometimes, because you do pick up on everything around you. But empathy does heal. You know, it helps people heal themselves. If you can listen, like really listen to them and their story, then, you know, that you're halfway there. You know, if people feel listened to and acknowledged and accepted for who they are, then that's when the real healing can start, I think. Yeah, so I do like to try and help people if I can, but also it's their journey, and I can sort of be a facilitator to their healing and to their getting well, but I can't do it for them. Yeah, and I think that's where, you know, holistic health, sometimes people get confused with holistic health and Reiki, because they think somebody else is going to heal them. But really, we're facilitators. We're facilitators of them healing themselves. But for someone to heal themselves, they have to be honest and truthful with themselves and accept the help that's there for them. You know? But
it's an addition, isn't it? The holistic therapy is an addition to unraveling, and the brains are the most complex part of our body, and the unraveling of years of emotional trauma and you know, grief, like you say, you know, it just doesn't happen overnight, does it, at all? And I know that because I've gone through years of it myself, but it doesn't heal overnight, and I just want people to understand that it is a journey, and you've got to, you know, cross each bridge as you come to it. And, you know, I'm so glad that you're still here, though, to tell the story. And I'm so glad.
Me too.
you've got a beautiful family, and you
Yeah.
know, there's a lot more planned for you yet, isn't there, as well? So your practice is going from strength to strength. Obviously, we're locked down again.
Yeah.
But it's harrowing to hear people's stories, and I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to tell me your story.
Absolute pleasure. And I think it's important that for people that have been through suicide and been, you know, affected by suicide or depression, that they need to open up about it. I think it's really important. So yeah.
And that's the beauty of Calm at the moment, and the reason why we're raising the money for this charity, because, you know, this money goes to helping people and listening to people and supporting people through these mental health crises. And we say crisis in such a way, but it's happening on a daily basis. And, you know, we always say 630 people die in the UK from suicide, and that's too many people.
Yeah, way too many. Yeah, way too many.
And there's also 930 people in America each week taking their own lives, and that is far too many as well. But I just want to say thank you so much, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing you when I can see you.
Yeah. I'm sure we will at some point.
I'm sure we will. And you know, I wish you all the best and much love to the family, and hopefully we can get through all this crisis and get back to doing what we love doing.
Yes, hopefully it won't be too much longer. Hopefully sometime in February.
Hopefully. Okay, so that was Kelly talking to us about her story. Now, if anything like this has, you know, drummed up some emotional trauma from your past, Calm is there to help you, and this is the reason why we're raising the money. So if you feel at any time that you need any support, please contact Calm or reach out to somebody nearest and dearest to you, because there is always